I've been thinking a lot lately about enoughness. And it's something that I hear from a lot of the people in my life, especially the mothers in my life, of which I'm not blessed to be one, but of which I have an incredible mother, and which I have many mothers who are part of my life. I especially hear this idea of like, am I enough? What does it mean? Am I enough of a daughter? Am I enough of a business owner? Am I enough of a partner? Am I enough of a friend, enough of a boss, enough of a niece, enough of an aunt, enough of all the things? Come here, come here, come here. Am I enough? Am I healthy enough? Am I sleeping enough? Is anybody sleeping enough? Am I Hawaiian enough? Am I woman enough? Am I, perhaps most debilitating for me, am I doing enough? And gals, I gotta tell you, the world is on fire. Like, let's be real. Shit is happening, and it like the kahea is out, the bat woman signal is in the sky. We all are seeing the signs. We need to be present, but how do we be present for ourselves while still being present for the people in front of us? By the way, I don't have the answer. That's not what's happening tonight. I'm just holding space for all of our questions. We're called to this, to serve, to love, to fight. And I got to tell you, I'm already exhausted, but I also am honored to be in this space. So tonight, I'm going to just share a couple of quick stories about just that, enoughness. And because of that, and because of my incredible storytelling guru, Reiko, who is somewhere in the mahalo, I can kind of see through the lights. I stopped myself recently to ask, when did I last feel like I was enough? And I think it was when I was 10 years old and I was the pink cellophane girl in the hula show. So just imagine it. Close your eyes with me. I was a hapahaole girl, curly, 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 curly hair. Right, Ma? Like curly, 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 curly hair. Same hula hips, though. All the plumeria lays and a pink cellophane skirt. And I was on stage, big smile, flirting with everybody in the front row. You're welcome. I was a full-on ham. And I danced everywhere. I danced in the mall. I danced at the beach. I danced in the bus going to Rosary on Tuesdays with my grandma. I danced for everyone. And I do a lot of political work now. And I tell the story of people ask, like, when was your entree to political activism? And I'm like, oh, it was dancing hula and being the hula girl. My mom was in charge of, I want to say Tuesday, Thursday, I'm taking some liberties here, Mom. Tuesday, Thursday phone banking for a local campaign. And I got to tell you, phone banking is terrible. I don't know anybody who's phone banked in here, but thank you for your service. But it's important because you got to reach voters. And it's so ironic, by the way, that I now own a company that basically professionally phone banks voters. But I came around, I was one of those, it was one of those like old school popcorn machines, the kind that has the basket on top and like da-da-da-da-da-da. And you know those little shave ice cones, the paper kind? I would fill those up and I would go around to everybody who was like dying making phone calls. And I would go around with these little popcorn cones and I would give everyone popcorn. I would do a little show and I would dance a little hula with my curly, curly cues and just try to keep people excited. And I tell that story a lot because that was my first entree to these are just real people that are trying to make a difference for our community and trying to make a difference in politics. But I think often when I tell that story about my mom was running phone banking and how did she feel and what was this like for her? She was juggling public service, a career, being from outside of Hawaiʻi, making lepo'o for her cute little daughter, and going to soccer practices, showing up as a mom, being a wife, being a daughter, being a sister to 7 siblings 5,000 miles away, running Tuesday and Thursday night phone banking. Did she ever feel not enough? I go back even further. My grandmother Bertha, this is my dad's mom. She used to make coconut cakes. This is stories that people tell all the time where She was a phenomenal chef. I don't know. I just ate shoyu and rice in the corner while all my cousins teased me, but she made incredible meals for people. And one of the things is that Kahala Hotel used to ask her to do wedding cakes for visitors that were getting married there. And so my aunt and my uncles tell all these stories about how they used to go out and collect all the coconuts, husk all the coconuts, get all the shreds, tediously pick the tiny little brown pieces from all of it so that you're just left with the coconut, the white coconut shreds for the coconut cake. And she would hand deliver them down to the Kahala Hotel. And did that bring her joy? Maybe. She may have loved that. I don't know. I never got to ask her. But did she also maybe do that because she felt like she needed to have some resources just in case? Just in case. After my grandfather, incredible man, but her first husband, she lost him essentially to what we would now call PTSD. Did she feel like she needed that? Did she feel like she needed to be there to show up for herself and to show up for her kids? Like many in her generation here in Hawaii, she didn't give any of her kids Hawaiian names. She didn't teach her kids how to speak Hawaiian. She really taught, like many people in her generation, that to be successful here in Hawaii meant to be American. That was the way to survive. But she gave them love. She gave them a home. She gave them safety. She gave me love. Okay, 5,000 miles away. My grandmother, Justine. We never met. She passed away before I was born. But I hear stories of her from my aunts and uncles that she was smart, witty, sassy. And we see some of that. She wrote a weekly article. My grandfather was the editor of the Boston Globe, and he would write these weekly pieces across the editor's desk. And she would write these pieces across the kitchen table because she was sassy and smart. And I hear stories about how after 8 kids, she was exhausted. And not being there myself, but I think sometimes about if we were in a different era, would she have wanted something different for her life? I don't know. I feel blessed to be armed with her name, Justine, which is my middle name, and it comes from her father's name, Justice. And I think that in these times, perhaps they were arming us for this justice fight that we have ahead. But did she ever ask herself, did she ever feel not enough? I don't know. So most of my life has been called to service. I love it. I love the kuleana. I love the ability to make a difference. I feel very blessed to be in that space. I want to give every minute to starving babies, houseless youth, systemic change, all the things, fight, ma'i movement, all day. Let's do it. Yes, I really, really do. Move us towards health as my health slowly but surely declines, or maybe rapidly so, as my relationships feel the weight of that call, of that work, of that kuleana. We study and we fight for upstream social determinants of health. Does that apply to us? Do the people that have the privilege of having these conversations get to talk about struggle? Again, I don't have answers, guys. Just my group therapy tonight. A few years ago, I felt overwhelmed by all of these questions. I felt emotionally tapped by the day-to-day. There wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough attention. There wasn't enough to just care about the things that mattered, to have the conversations that mattered. There wasn't enough for the joy, for the love. And so I ha'aleled, I moved, I went to Hawaii Island. And so here I am in the 3rd year of my midlife crisis. Aloha, everyone. What I like to believe is that this is the 3rd year of investing in my own health. My first year was physical health. It was a lifelong journey for me around physical health. It's going to continue to be a lifelong journey for me as a post-bariatric girl, continuing to fight for my own health every day. My 2nd year was about emotional health. So I moved to Waiakea and I drowned out the calls of expectation and duty that Oahu brought me, and I drowned it out with koki frogs. and amazing, beautiful animals and aina-based living. My third year, this year, has been about spiritual health. So I have a kumu who invited me to join the group that performed the kumulipo a few weeks ago at Iolani Palace. It was incredible. Mahalo. It was really empowering to be a part of that, but the journey was really what got me. And it was this opportunity to connect. Kumu she's super smart. And she selected a bunch of us who are used to existing in these spaces in the in-between. We know how to code switch. We know how to be successful in certain spaces. We struggle with our Hawaiianness. We struggle with our feelings of insecurity. We struggle under the weight of imposter syndrome. But she empowered us to find our leo, our voice, find our olelo, our language, and find our Hawaiianness. So recently, I was shocked when someone gave me as the example against which they asked, are they Hawaiian enough? Oh, they don't oli like Becky does. Oh, they don't hula like Becky does. And I was shocked for that because my whole life I've been asking myself these questions. Am I Hawaiian enough for my fairness, for my inability to speak Hawaiian language, for my not liking poke? Don't throw things at me. For my inability to literally balance on a surfboard. And I always was, okay, if I dance well enough, if I support enough Hawaiian businesses, if I build enough housing for Hawaiians, if I do enough to support our local designers, am I Hawaiian enough? A piece of me broke inside when she said that because I asked myself, in my quest to be enough, did I do something to make someone else feel not enough? Okay, back to our topic. Promise I'll wrap. Being a woman is beautiful, powerful. It is empowering. It is life-creating. It's also a struggle. It's complicated. Being a woman is political. It's being exhausted a lot of the time. It's too often, not feeling enough. So this is how I'm showing up for you all tonight. Thank you for accepting me as I am. The little girl in the pink cellophane skirt inside of me is saying, leave the guilt over there. Don't pick her back up. I hope all of you will leave whatever guilt you're carrying tonight over there, and we'll get rid of it because it's not serving any of us. So mahalo for being group therapy for me. And for those of you, I say this to my mom, I say this to my grandmothers, I say this to my friends who are moms, I say this to my sisters, I say this to my kane in my life, I say this to my father, to my brother, to my partner, I say this to everyone that is struggling with these questions. If you're here tonight and there's some little piece of you somewhere that is asking, am I enough? Is this enough? Is that enough? Please hear me when I say you are enough. Mahalo.